A few weeks ago, I decided to take a solo road trip across the Midwest. I thought it would help me find some inspiration and take a break from my busy city life. I'm 32 and work as a freelance graphic designer. I wasn't an expert at road tripping, but I thought I'd be fine. I still think about that trip all the time. One night, I pulled into a diner. It was late and pretty empty, with just a couple of other patrons scattered around. I ordered a burger and sat at the far booth. The neon lights flickered above, creating an uneasy buzz in the air. I noticed a couple next to me. Their voices were low and anxious. I leaned in a little, catching words like disappearances and the sheriff. At first, I thought they were joking. I glanced out the window, but it was just dark fields, nothing odd. The couple looked around as if they were scared. Their tension started to settle into my stomach too. I tried to shake it off, but it stuck with me. I left the diner feeling strange and uneasy. And the following days, I drove through long stretches of road. It was just my tires and the asphalt under me. I stopped at a few small towns, each one felt like it was stuck in time. At one gas station, the cashier watched me closely, almost like I was some lost animal. I felt my throat tighten while I paid. I couldn't shake the feeling he was waiting for something. Then, I saw the hitchhiker. I passed by him at first. But then, the next day, I swore I saw him again. He was standing at a different spot with his thumb out and a strange grin on his face. The smile sent a chill up my spine. I didn't stop to pick him up. I kept driving, heart racing, feeling like someone was always behind me, watching and waiting. Eventually, I ended up at a roadside motel that felt older than me. The lights flickered in my room, and I could hear strange noises in the walls. I thought it might just be the old plumbing, but it felt more like whispering. One night, I woke up to a soft knock at the door. My heart raced. I didn't move. I just listened. Nothing else came after that. Now that I'm back home, I can't shake my experiences. I want to believe it was just my imagination, but I keep thinking about that hitchhiker. His smile is burned into my mind. I find myself questioning if he was waiting for me. And as I write this now, I shiver. What if I had stopped for him? What if I wasn't alone? I can't forget that sense of being watched, even now that I'm safe at home. Then it hit me like a punch. I was supposed to drive through an old town the next day. I check the news and find reports of another disappearance. My hands tremble. The last person seen. A hitchhiker, smiling at passing cars. What if I wasn't just imagining it all? What if it's more than that? The next day, I felt a pull to uncover the truth. I could no longer ignore the nagging feeling in my gut. I had to figure out what was going on. I decided to drive back to that old town. As I made my way down the familiar road, my heart thudded with unease. Each mile felt heavier, like the air was thickening around me. I gripped the steering wheel too tightly, glancing in the rearview mirror more often than necessary. My mind was clouded with fear and something else, curiosity. When I finally arrived in the town, it looked the same, but something felt off. The streets were quiet, unnaturally so. I stopped at a gas station. The cashier from before was behind the counter, his eyes narrowing as I walked in. "You back already?" he said. His tone was low, almost accusatory. I hesitated but pushed forward. I just wanted to know more about what people have been saying. "About the hitchhiker," I managed to say. His expression shifted. It felt like I had crossed a line. "Best not to talk about that. You don't want to draw attention," he warned, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to appear. I felt the chill run down my spine. "Do you think it's true? The disappearances?" I couldn't help but ask. He hesitated, his fists tightening slightly. "Look, just stay away from the roads at night. It's safer that way." With that, I paid for my gas and scrambled back to my car. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't help feeling compelled to dig deeper. I needed answers that I drove past the diner where I first heard the couple's anxious conversation. It still stood as a dark silhouette against the fading light. Part of me wanted to go inside, to talk to anyone who might know more. But the fear held me back. As I weighed my options, I noticed a commotion outside the diner. A small group of people had gathered, whispering urgently. I parked and walked closer, my heart pounding. I caught snippets of their conversation. They were talking about more victims and the sheriff again. That's when I saw it. A flyer taped to a light post. A missing person's photo. It felt like a punch in the gut. The face looked familiar, too familiar. It was a photo of the hitchhiker. The same grin that haunted my nights was plastered over the flyer. Beneath it, the words, "Have you seen him? Call if you know anything." Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The people around me felt tense, like they were waiting for something to happen. I went to turn back to my car, but something stopped me. A cold gust of wind rustled the nearby bushes, and I swear I heard a laugh, faint but unmistakable. I turned quickly, scanning the parking lot. That's when I saw him. The hitchhiker, standing just outside the diner, watching me with that chilling smile. I froze, heart racing, as he raised his hand, gesturing for me to come closer. The moment felt suspended in air. I was trapped between my instincts to run and an undeniable, overwhelming pull toward him. What was I even doing? I could feel that reality was slipping just a little further away. I took a step back, ready to flee. But then I noticed something else. Eyes were now watching me from the diner, wide and fearful. What had I stumbled into? I had to get out of there, but a strange voice inside urged me to stay. I felt like I was being drawn into something I couldn't escape. I could hardly breathe as I stood there, caught in the hitchhiker's gaze. A chill crept down my spine, and my instincts screamed for me to run. But curiosity mixed with dread tethered me to the spot. What did he want? Why was he here? The crowd around the diner shivered with a collective unease, eyes darting between me and the hitchhiker. I could see whispers spilling from their lips, but I couldn't make out the words. The hitchhiker took a slow step toward me, still smiling, as if none of this felt the way it truly did. The moment stretched, each second pulling me deeper into discomfort. With no one willing to step forward, I was left to face this phantom figure alone. I caught a glimpse of the missing person flyer again, burning in my mind. Was he dangerous? Had he been the last person to see those who'd gone missing? Before I could think anymore, my feet moved against my will. I took a step backward, heart thumping wildly. "I need to go," I murmured, almost to myself, but he only laughed softly. The sound echoed in my ears, eerie and mocking. The hitchhiker tilted his head, as if considering my words. "Why leave so soon?" he called out, the smile never wavering. "You haven't heard the best part yet." His voice sent ripples of fear through me. I glanced back up at the diner. People inside were pressing their faces against the glass, watching this strange standoff unfold, and then, without warning, the diner's door swung open. A woman burst out, her face pale and frantic. "Get away from him!" she screamed. "You don't know what you're doing." Her urgency broke me from the hitchhiker's daze, and all the adrenaline I'd been holding surged forward. "Who is he?" I shouted back, desperation edging my voice. "What do you know?" I could feel the crowd's attention shifting, curiosity battling against fear. The hitchhiker straightened, a glimmer of annoyance sparking in his features. "Come on, you're not still afraid of the stories, are you?" he said, his voice dripping with an unsettling charm. I couldn't take my eyes off him. The woman stepped forward, panic etched across her face. "He's not just some guy. You can't trust him." "Trust?" the hitchhiker echoed, his tone now dripping with a sinister sweetness. "Maybe it's not trust you need, but a story." The crowd was growing restless, filling the air with a sense of impending danger. I glanced toward my car, regretting every moment I stayed. I needed to escape, but part of me remained rooted there, desperate to learn more. Please. The woman shouted. We lost friends. You don't have to repeat the same mistakes. The hitchhiker's smile faltered for just a moment, replaced with something darker. Lost? Or found? He asked cryptically, narrowing his eyes as he leaned slightly toward me. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. I didn't understand, but my gut was screaming for me to act. I stumbled back, heart racing, my breath hitching in my throat. Then, everything went dark. The streetlights flickered violently, plunging the area in shadow. Gasps filled the air as screams erupted from the crowd. There was a sudden crash, and I could sense that something was rushing toward us. Before I could react, the hitchhiker turned on his heel and dashed into the darkness. Instinctively, I followed, feeling like I was being pulled into an abyss without end. I sprinted after the hitchhiker, my heart pounding like a drum. The darkness enveloped me, confusing my senses. The screams faded into the distance as I pushed through the chill in the air. My breath came in shallow gasps, but I couldn't let him get away. I needed answers. Wait. I called into the void. My voice felt swallowed up, diffused by the thick night air. I struggled to keep him in sight, but he darted left, disappearing into a narrow alleyway. I hesitated for a moment, my instinct telling me to turn back, but curiosity urged me forward. I entered the alley, the walls closing in around me. Urban shadows stretched and twisted, and the trash bins loomed like sentinels. Suddenly, I stumbled upon a small clearing, illuminated by a single flickering lamp. There, the hitchhiker stood, his back to me. What do you want? I demanded, my voice shaky yet firm. He turned slowly, that infuriating smile still plastered on his face. You're brave to come this far, he said, as if we were sharing a light conversation instead of racing through a dark alley after a possible threat. Most people wouldn't dare. Stop playing games. I shouted, frustration spilling over. What are you doing here? Who are you? Who I am doesn't matter, he replied, his tone oddly cheerful. What matters is what I can show you. I felt an involuntary shiver course through me. Behind him, a door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room. I glanced around, hoping someone else would arrive, wondering if I'd made a colossal mistake. But the alley remained hauntingly empty. As if reading my thoughts, he gestured toward the open door. Just a peek. Beyond it lies the truth you seek. Truth? I echoed, skepticism thickening my voice. And what truth would that be? That you're some kind of monster. He chuckled, but there was no warmth in it. Monsters are often a matter of perspective. Sometimes, they look just like you. My pulse raced at the implication. I thought of the woman from the diner, her frantic pleas echoing in my mind. You're not going to lure me in there, are you? Lure you? He asked, feigning surprise. Oh no, that would be far too easy. I offer knowledge a different kind of journey. He stepped back, arms wide as if he were showcasing a grand performance. But it's your choice, of course. My instincts screamed at me to run, but something held me rooted. A flicker of hope wrestled with fear. What if he actually had answers? The missing people. The stories swirling around this town. Just as I took a hesitant step forward, the ground shook beneath me. A deep rumble reverberated through the walls, sending small debris cascading down from above. I stumbled, catching myself against the doorframe. What was that? I shouted, scanning the darkness for a source. He smirked, his smile becoming more sinister. The past is coming to collect what it's owed. Before I could gather my thoughts, the air shifted, charged with something almost tangible. A shadow emerged from the alleyway, growing wider and darker as it approached. My instincts kicked in, and I took a step back, heart hammering. Choose wisely, the hitchhiker whispered, his voice now barely more than a low drawl. You're not just seeking answers. You're about to uncover secrets that were meant to stay buried. That's when I saw it, a figure behind him, shrouded in darkness, waiting to trap me in the unseen clutches of what lurked beneath the surface. I felt the air around me tighten, thick with tension. The figure stepped closer, revealing a pair of gleaming eyes that seemed to pierce right through me. They were hollow yet filled with a dreadful intelligence. My heart raced. I wanted to scream, to run, but my feet wouldn't move. The hitchhiker grinned wider. You see? It's already begun. You're in way over your head. What do you mean? I breathed, wanting desperately to understand but too scared to ask. Every choice has consequences, he said, turning slightly to nod at the emerging shadow. And now you're faced with one. Will you embrace the truth or retreat back to your comfortable ignorance? The creature lurking behind him shifted, expanding. It wasn't just a shadow, it was a mass of darkness, whispers wrapping around me, mocking me. My instincts told me to back away, but the cold laughter of the hitchhiker kept me trapped. Enough. I managed to shout, breaking through my paralysis. You think you can scare me? This is all some sick game. The creature seemed to ripple, and the hitchhiker's laughter took on an echoing quality. Ah, but you're already part of it, aren't you? You chased after me. You want to know the truth. The shadows danced closer, casting ominous shapes on the alley walls. I inhaled sharply as the realization hit me. I was at a crossroads, and my fear was drawing me in deeper. My thoughts drifted back to the diner. The scream of that woman haunted me still. In a bold move fueled by desperation, I pointed at the hitchhiker. What did you do to her? Where is she? His smile faltered for a fleeting moment, replaced by a flicker of something darker. She'll find her way back to us. The question is, will you? Before I could process his words, the ground shook again, stronger this time, as if it dreaded what was about to unfold. I glanced around, looking for an escape route, but the alley felt like an endless tunnel, the walls closing tighter around me. The hitchhiker stepped back, almost reveling in my panic. You can't run from your destiny, nor can you flee from the truth. You've already walked too far into the dark. And then, out of nowhere, a deafening crash echoed from behind me. I turned instinctively, eyes wide. A metal dumpster tipped over, spilling its contents. I was momentarily distracted, and then there it was. Something shiny caught my eye, glinting in the dim light. Against all my instincts, I bent down to pick it up. It was a key, old and rusted, heavy in my palm. I looked back at the hitchhiker, who now wore a smirk tinged with intrigue. Interesting choice, he said, his voice layered with amusement. Now, what will you do with that? My breath hitched. Clutching the key felt almost like a promise. But a promise of what? Answers? A way out? Or something far more sinister? As the shadows swirled closer, I knew the time had come to decide. I could stay and face whatever darkness lay ahead, or turn back and risk losing everything I had learned. Uncertainty coursed through me as I gripped the key tighter, my heart pounding once more. What had I stumbled into, and what would I find if I dared to unlock that door behind the hitchhiker? I glanced nervously at the hitchhiker and then at the shadows creeping closer. The key's weight in my hand seemed to ground me, anchoring me against the chaos. What door? I managed to ask, my voice trembling slightly. The hitchhiker's grin widened, revealing more teeth than should have been possible. The door to your past, your choices, the very essence of your fears. He gestured grandly, inviting me to contemplate the darkness that threatened to swallow me whole. The shadow behind him slithered forward, and I felt a pulse of panic rise in my chest. This isn't a game, I said, almost pleading. I need to know what happened to the woman. Will I find her if I use the key? Perhaps. Or perhaps you'll only find what you truly are, he replied, his tone dripping with mock sincerity. His expression was unnervingly inviting, the kind of pull that made you want to lean in, despite knowing you shouldn't. No other choice rushed through my mind. I couldn't retreat now. I took a step forward, my legs shaking under the weight of uncertainty. Just as I was about to ask how I could use the key, the ground trembled again, sending me stumbling. "What is happening?" I cried, looking up at the hitchhiker, who watched with an unsettling calm. "The truth is rarely comfortable," he said, almost conversationally. "Embrace it, or be consumed by it." Without thinking, I clenched the key tighter, feeling its rusted surface dig into my palm. Just then, I caught a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye, a sliver of light breaking through the encroaching shadows. It came from a doorway across the alley, partially hidden behind heaps of debris. I hesitated, staring at that sliver, contemplating my next move. The hitchhiker leaned casually against the alley wall, still smiling. "Are you ready for what awaits? The decision lies with you." Instinct nudged me toward the doorway, but uncertainty yanked at my feet. As if sensing my indecision, the shadows coiled tighter around me, whispering words I couldn't comprehend. With every moment, the oppressive weight of their presence made it harder to breathe. "Are you going to unlock the door or remain here, caught in this never-ending nightmare?" the hitchhiker taunted. I took a shaky breath and, against every instinct screaming inside me, I turned and ran toward that light. The sound of my heartbeat echoed in my ears as I neared the door. I could feel the energy shifting around me, but I couldn't look back. As I reached for the doorknob, I suddenly felt a sharp jolt, as if something unseen pressed against my back. The key slipped from my fingers, clattering to the ground, lost amidst the shadows. "No!" I shouted, panic flooding my voice. Yet even as I dove for the key, hands clawing at the cold pavement, I realized I had made my choice. The door swung wide, and a blinding light surged out. Something was waiting on the other side, a presence I couldn't quite define. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the light flickered and sputtered, leaving me in limbo between two worlds. The hitchhiker laughed, his voice dripping with delight. "Welcome to the crossroads," he said, his tone echoing with a sinister glee. As the shadows began to close in around me once more, I felt something shift in my mind. The door was still open, but I now had a clearer view of what lay ahead and what I'd left behind. I had to decide. Would I confront my fears and dive into the light, or retreat into the dark uncertainty of the alley? The hitchhiker's gaze bore into me, waiting for my answer. I inhaled sharply. The darkness throbbed around me, and I could feel the hitchhiker's gaze boring into my back. It was as if I could hear the shadows whispering my name, urging me to stay. But the light, a distant hope, reminded me of my purpose. I had to find the woman that I stepped through the door, a shiver cascading down my spine. The light enveloped me, blinding at first. But I blinked and adjusted, and soon I found myself in an empty room. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by a single flickering bulb hanging from the ceiling. That I looked around, disoriented. The walls were bare, except for a large mirror at the far end. My reflection stared back at me, wide-eyed and apprehensive. I took a hesitant step forward, my heart racing with every inch I closed. "Look at yourself," a voice echoed, unsettlingly familiar. I whipped around to see the hitchhiker leaning casually against the doorframe, his grin still plastered across his face. "You're just as you were when you left. What do you want?" I shouted, fear clashing with anger. His presence was suffocating. "To remind you who you are." He gestured toward the mirror. "Go on. Take a look." Against my better judgment, I turned back to the reflection. But it wasn't just me standing there. The room around me wavered, and suddenly, a woman appeared behind my reflection dressed in white, her expression a mix of fear and hope. I gasped, reaching out as if I could touch her. "Is it you?" Her name was Clara, the hitchhiker said, his voice low and taunting. "You remember her, don't you? Or do you pretend she's just a ghost of your past?" The name hit me like a bullet. A wave of memories crashed over me: laughter, promises, the day I lost her to something I couldn't control. I stumbled back, gripping the edge of the table. This isn't real. She's gone. No, she's here, he replied, his tone mocking. You just have to decide to face the truth. What really happened that day? Before I could respond, the reflection of Clara began to fade. Panic surged as I realized I was losing her again. I slammed my hands against the mirror, desperate. Please. The hitchhiker chuckled, leaning closer. You have to unlock that door within you. The one that holds your memories, your guilt. You hold the key. Suddenly, the room darkened, and Clara vanished completely, leaving behind only echoes of her laughter. My breath quickened, and the shadows from the other side began to stretch into the room, snaking toward me. My pulse raced as I felt their cold fingers brush against my skin. Remember, the choice is yours, the hitchhiker said, his form blending into the shadows. But time is running out. Will you stay lost, or will you confront what you have avoided? I had to act. The thought of losing Clara again fueled a fire within me. I needed that key back, needed to dive deeper into my past, even if it terrified me. As the shadows danced hungrily around me, I steeled myself. But just as I felt a newfound determination, everything went dark. That I heard a distant scream echo through the void, and my heart dropped. Clara. And then there was silence. It was time to face the truth, whatever it might be. I blinked, the darkness swallowing me whole. The scream still echoed in my mind, gnawing at me like a distant alarm. I felt suspended in time, caught between my fear and the urgency to find Clara. Then, slowly, light seeped back in. I blinked against it, cobwebs of disorientation clearing away. I found myself in a different room, smaller and more cramped. The walls were lined with faded photographs, capturing moments of joy frozen in time. Each frame felt like a ghost, reminding me of what I had lost. That I walked further in, unease coiling in my stomach. I reached one picture that stood out. It showed Clara and me at the lake, smiles bright in the sunlight. But behind us, something lingered, a shadow that seemed out of place. My heart raced. Was the hitchhiker right? Was I not ready to face my past? It took every ounce of courage to turn back and confront the wall of memories. What happened that day? I whispered to myself. I needed answers. Instead, I was met with my own reflection once again, staring back with accusing eyes. That I swung around, ready for the hitchhiker, but was met only with silence. I scanned the room, my gaze landing on a door partially ajar at the back. The handle was cold, and curiosity pulled me toward it. Suddenly, it hit me: Clara was trapped somewhere in this nightmare, and I couldn't let fear stop me any longer. I pushed the door open harder than I intended. It creaked ominously, a foreboding warning. The room beyond was darker, heavy with a stillness that made my skin crawl. I took a cautious step inside, squinting as I searched for any sign of Clara, any hope that she was still there. A gust of cold air brushed past me, sending chills down my spine. I turned, instinctively looking for the hitchhiker. But instead, the door slammed shut behind me, plunging everything into darkness once again. Great, I muttered. Now I'm locked in. Panic clawed at my throat. I twisted the handle, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped. Like a whisper, I heard it, a soft sound, barely audible. Someone was in the room with me. Suddenly the shadows shifted and morphed, revealing a figure. At first, the form was indistinct, but then it became clear. Clara. Clara! I shouted, heart leaping with hope. But as I rushed towards her, the figure dissipated like wisps of smoke. I stumbled, confusion rotating within me. Then I felt something press against my back, a hand. I froze, dread washing over me. A low, chilling voice murmured, "You can't escape the truth." I turned around, but no one was there. Just shadows swirling, alive with malicious intent. My heart raced as fear gripped me. I was running out of time. I had to find the key to uncovering what I had buried. Then, I saw it a glimmer on the floor. A small, rusty key. Maybe this is it, I breathed, diving for it. Just as my fingers closed around it, an intense light burst through the cracks. The door opened, revealing not Clara, but the hitchhiker's menacing grin. You think you can hide forever? My pulse quickened as the light engulfed me. I was no longer alone. I had to choose. The truth, or the shadows. But one thing was clear: this had just become much more dangerous. I braced myself as the light swallowed me whole, uncertain of what awaited on the other side. I stumbled into a new space, the light engulfing me with a heavy warmth that felt out of place. The walls here were bare, the air thick with tension and something else: fear. Or perhaps sorrow. I couldn't quite place it, but it sent chills racing down my spine. The hitchhiker's grin lingered in my mind like a bad memory. What did he mean? I mumbled to myself. I looked around, hoping to catch any sign of Clara or a clue about where we might be. There was nothing familiar in this room, just shadows lurking in corners, casting twisted shapes that I took a step forward, trying to still my racing heart. The bare floorboards creaked beneath me, echoing like whispers. Then, suddenly, a noise shattered the silence: a faint sob. I froze, instinctively turning toward the sound. Clara? I called out. No response came. I felt a pull, like a magnet drawing me deeper into the room. As I moved, the sobs grew louder, more desperate. It couldn't be a trick. It had to be her. I reached a door on the opposite wall and pushed it open without hesitation. It led into an even dimmer corridor, flickering lights barely illuminating the way. The sobbing echoed louder, now definite, rich with despair. Clara! I shouted again, louder this time. I raced down the hallway, urgency gripping me. As I turned a corner, I found myself in a small room, and there she was. Clara sat on the floor, her back against the wall, arms wrapped around her knees. She looked up, eyes red and puffy, but there was something off. I felt a chill wash over me as I realized she wasn't just crying, she was shaking. Clara, what happened? Are you okay? I rushed to her, but the moment I reached out to touch her shoulder, she flinched back. No. Don't come closer. She cried, her voice trembling. A jolt of confusion hit me. What do you mean? It's me. Get away. Her eyes shifted past me, wide with fear. I turned instinctively, heart racing, but found only shadows creeping along the walls. Clara, please. I begged. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm trying to help. Help? She laughed bitterly, shaking her head. You don't even know what you're up against. A weight settled in my stomach. Her words were laced with a truth that felt heavy and ominous. What are you talking about? Then the room grew colder, I could feel it, the darkness pressing in closer. I turned again, searching for the source. There was something there, a shape moving just at the edge of the flickering lights, with a familiar form. Stay away from her. I shouted, stepping protectively in front of Clara. The figure, shrouded in shadows, seemed to pause. A low, mocking chuckle filled the space. I felt a wave of dread rush over me, clashing with the growing panic in my chest. I had to act fast. As I took a step forward, ready to confront whatever this thing was, Clara grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly firm. No. You can't face it. Not like this, she hissed. Then what do we do? I demanded, my mind racing. That's when I caught a glimmer of something, a small, reflective surface on the floor nearby. A mirror. The shadows danced around it, but I could see myself in it, a distorted version of the person I thought I was. Clara's gaze followed mine, horror written all over her face. That's not the truth, she whispered, fingers trembling. I reached for it. Whatever I uncovered now could change everything or end it all. A heart-stopping realization hit me like a punch. I had to know. But before I could grasp the object, the figure lunged forward, shrouded in darkness, and everything went black. I awoke gasping, sprawled on the cold floor of the dark room. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust to the dim light filtering through the cracks. The air was thick with dust and anxiety, drowning me in the weight of where I was. I scrambled to my feet, heart racing. It felt like something was still lingering, just out of sight, waiting for me to make the next move. "Clara?" I called, my voice echoing softly against the walls. A silence greeted me, but as my pulse steadied, I thought I heard a faint whimper from beyond the shadows. A renewed sense of determination coursed through me. I needed to find her. I ventured deeper into the room, searching every corner. Each step felt like wading through thick fog. The fear that had initially gripped me began to ebb away, replaced by a single thought: I wouldn't abandon her again. "Whatever is lurking in the dark," I whispered, "I will face it." Something flickered in the shadows, drawing my attention. I noticed a shape standing near the opposite wall. It was Clara, her figure barely illuminated, eyes wide with a mix of fear and something else, hope. I rushed toward her, but again, she recoiled, pressing herself against the wall. "No, don't!" she cried, terror spilling from her voice. I froze, confusion washing over me. "Clara, I'm here to help you. You have to trust me." "Trust you?" she repeated, the pain in her tone palpable. "You have no idea what you're up against." Her eyes flicked over my shoulder, and I felt a chill, as if something sinister had slipped closer. "Clara, please. Just tell me what's happening," I exclaimed, twisting to look behind me. The shadows seemed to stir, creeping in like thick smoke. Fear coiled tighter in my chest. "We need to escape together." A low, rumbling laugh echoed through the space, chilling me to the bone. Dark figures shifted at the edge of my vision. Suddenly, the hitchhiker emerged from the darkness, a menacing glint in his eye. "You came back," he said smoothly, a smile stretching across his face, but there was no warmth behind it. "How brave of you." I felt the shadows thrumming around us, closing in with malevolence. "I won't let you take her," I shouted, stepping protectively in front of Clara once again. The hitchhiker's smile faltered, revealing a flicker of irritation. "Take her? No, she's part of this too, like it or not." His voice dripped with that same unsettling sweetness I'd heard before. "Stop it!" I yelled, anger bubbling up inside me. "This isn't some game. You don't get to play with other people's lives." The hitchhiker tilted his head, studying me. "And yet, here we are. You're the one who came seeking answers, aren't you?" His voice waxed with temptation. "You could unlock profound truths, but it comes at a price." Clara whimpered behind me, and something about her voice shook me. "Don't," she whispered. The flickering shadows seemed to pulse, ready to envelop us. My heart raced as adrenaline surged through me, desperate to act. "Clara, can you hear me? Focus on my voice. Remember who you are," I said, trying to fight against the growing dread in the air. She nodded slowly, but her expression remained haunted. Our moment hung in the balance, the hitchhiker's darkness thickening, pressing in on us. I suddenly spotted something a glimmer out of the corner of my eye. The key, the rusted key I had seen before, lay at my feet. It felt like an anchor, a reminder that I still had some control. I lunged for it, grasping it tightly. "Now, will you open the door?" the hitchhiker taunted, his tone mocking. I stood firm, locking eyes with him. "I have to confront my past. Not to uncover your sinister stories, but to save Clara." The walls around us trembled as I moved closer to Clara, key held tightly. I reached out, the weight of my choice surging through me. I could feel the energy shifting in the room. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if sensing the change that I turned to the hitchhiker, and for the first time, it felt like I had the upper hand. "You think this is about just one choice, one door? You're wrong. It's about courage in the face of darkness. I took a deep breath, and in that moment, the tension felt palpable. I won't be afraid of the truth any longer. I shouted, and with a fierce determination, I thrust the key into an unseen lock in my mind, awakening memories that had long been buried. The shadows twitched and writhed, and a crack of light erupted from the darkness that in a blinding flash. I felt Clara's hand grip mine tighter. "Together," she said, her voice steady. As I turned back to the hitchhiker, I saw the twisted rage in his eyes. The darkness around him sputtered under the light's power, unable to contain its grasp, but just then, as the light expanded, racing toward the hitchhiker, I caught one last glimpse of the shadows swirling, shifting into forms I couldn't comprehend, figures from my past. Fears made manifest that I felt an odd sense of freedom alongside the nagging dread. I had made my choice, but the hitchhiker's grin remained, simmering in the chaos of the light. Would this truly be the end of it? Would I find peace in my past? "His fate is tied to yours," Clara said softly, and together we stepped into the light, knowing we would confront whatever truth awaited us, ambitious yet indifferent, and what became of the hitchhiker would forever remain an unanswered question, suspended in the dark. And as we crossed through, shadows and light clashed behind us, their echoes whispering uncertainties that would never be wholly dispelled, our path forever intertwining with the mysteries of that haunted town.